The Pentagon Papers were leaked to the media almost 40 years ago by then Vietnam War strategist Daniel Ellsberg. An effort is underway by the National Archives to declassify the full text. Ellsberg, once dubbed the most dangerous man in America, spoke to Newsmax about the parallels he sees between the Pentagon Papers and the role WikiLeaks played in the pro-democracy movement that toppled Egypt's government and is now spreading throughout the Mideast.
One other thing there was that the WikiLeaks exposures, which were of course exactly analogous to mine, they were different type. In many, they were lower level, they were only secret, they weren't top secret. And yet they revealed that our diplomats understood very well the corruption and dictatorial methods and dictatorship that we were supporting. We understood that in the course of support and in giving those regimes, Tunisia and Egypt, major military aid, especially support, especially Egypt. And that WikiLeaks cable, the cable WikiLeaks exposed, was a major factor along with the immolation of the young man in Tunisia, that led people to say, we've had enough of this. I think the very notion that the US, that everyone understood was behind the regime, along with the French, in that case, as in Vietnam, where we were sort of partners of the French in opposing nationalism. But the fact that we knew it was somehow, I suspect, infuriating or humiliating, that their situation of being ruled dictatorially by a very corrupt kleptocracy, a thieving gang, essentially, was known to the people who were supporting it and to the world at large, I think, led people to say, it's up to us, let's change this.
Now, I understand that you met WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange late last year. What kind of meeting was that, and what kind of guy did you discover him to be?
Well, I wanted to find out what sort of person he was, and I was very pleased that I'd met him. I liked him, very intelligent, very committed, courageous, I believe, and principled, idealistic. I really am very impressed by him. So I like him as a friend. I support him.
You say that you have offered him your full support. How come?
Well, we don't agree absolutely on the question of transparency. He probably is more, goes further than I would in terms of revealing government secrets, although it's wrong to say. I asked him if he felt there should be no secrets, since I understand, from my point of view, of course there have to be secrets. His answer was the same. Of course there have to be some secrets. Of course, it's absurd to say there should be no secrecy. However, he hasn't been in the government. I think that he probably is would put out some information that I wouldn't. And we don't agree entirely on that, but he's not an absolutist on that question.
Is it worth compromising U.S. national security and people's lives for this transparency?
That really rarely arises, and on the whole, one would, the risks are not all on the side of transparency by any means. I think that the secrecy that surrounded the deceptions in Vietnam, which were just as great in the case of Iraq, lies, we were lied into the war in Iraq as in Vietnam, and those lies were protected by years of secrecy by thousands of people. So there are very tangible risks on the secrecy and the deception. There's hypothetical risks on transparency that haven't been much realized.
Now, you said back in 1998, quote, the public is lied to every day by the president, by his spokespeople, by his officers. Does the same hold true for President Obama? And if so, what is it that he's lying about?
If you ask right now what I think we're being deceived on, President Obama has given the impression that he'll have all U.S. troops out of Iraq by the end of next year. I believe that that's untrue in his intentions. It's just possible that if there were nonviolent protests in Iraq against our bases, the way they have been in Egypt, and that could happen. It may not, but it could happen. We might be forced out, but that would not be by President Obama's or his advisors' decision. I think that our planning has been entirely based on staying indefinitely in those bases.
Ellsberg is now a senior fellow at the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation. He used to advise the White House and the Defense Department on nuclear weapons and told Newsmax how he'd advise the president concerning Iran.
I think certainly I do not think that he should be threatening to initiate nuclear war under any circumstances against those countries, specifically against Iran. I say that because just the other day, it's been brought up that after a big dispute inside the administration, he came down on the side of continuing to have a tacit threat that we might initiate nuclear war, namely against the underground sites is the issue there, which can't be destroyed by conventional weapons. It would be a catastrophe for this species if the United States used, and most others on Earth, if the United States initiated nuclear war for that purpose or any other purpose, there or anywhere else. And Obama specifically came down on the side of keeping that threat open.
Ellsberg also questioned President Obama's commitment to a nuclear weapons-free world, as envisioned by former President Ronald Reagan and former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. Ellsberg did say that Reagan was genuine in his pursuit of that goal, and that it is his hope that Reagan's goal is one day achieved. Reporting for Newsmax TV, I'm Kathleen Walter.